Hey guys, hope you're well. Del from Date Room Knives. Little treat for you today. Going to be refurbishing this old World War II knife. Now this belonged to my father-in-law's dad, who was in the Navy. Now, this knife has seen some action, and I thought it'd make a nice Christmas present for him if I refurbished this, made a new sheath for it. The sheath is long gone, that's perished. So yeah, I'm going to refurbish this, make a new sheath for it, and get this looking pretty. To honour his old man. Now, his old man was not the biggest guy, had an absolute cutting wit to him, and from all accounts, quite a terrifying man when he needed to be. You know, proper old boy. Been there, seen it, done it. Burnt the t-shirt. It's a W.H.Fagan, made in Sheffield. Absolute classic. These things were prolific back in the day, and this is a solid bit of kit. I've seen these kinds of knives many times over the years, not necessarily the Fagans, but the ones with either the stack leather handle or the bone handle with the aluminium pommel bolted on pommel, and every single one of them I've seen, the pommel's been loose for whatever reason, whether it's everything's collapsed, like the leather's collapsed, or it's just been beaten on, or just lesser quality, whatever. The pommel has always been loose. Now this one is solid. This is absolutely rock solid. The handle's solid, the blade's solid. It's an unbelievable bit of kit considering the age of it. That's a good thing, because it means I won't have to remove this pommel to fix it, to get it back to how it should be. Because these pommels, these aluminium pommels, they're bolted on. Everything's put together, then it's clamped together. These are then bolted on. It's got a little brass nut in the bottom there. And then the pommel is shaped with the handle after that. So removing this and then trying to get it back square with the rest of the handle is nigh on impossible. So I might have had to make an entire new pommel for it, which of course would not be a problem, but I want to keep this as original as possible. Now this is quite badly pitted. Kind of at first glance, you might think that's neglect, that's a bad thing, but when you think a little bit deeper about it, that's actually almost a beautiful thing, because a knife first and foremost is a tool, and this knife had a specific purpose, and throughout the years of the Second World War it served that purpose, and then after that it was no longer needed. In peace times it was no longer needed. It certainly wasn't needed by my father-in-law, and so looking at it purely as a tool, it did what it was supposed to do, and then it was no longer needed. And that would account for the pitting, and I'm not going to call it neglect, because it's, if this was a daily user and it ended up looking like that, that would be neglect. But the fact of the matter is like I say, this served its purpose, and that was that. Now I don't want to change the profile too much, because I want to keep it as original as possible, but there is some quite deep pitting here. Yeah, there is some quite deep pitting, especially here. There's a pit which goes back about 1 millimeter or so, maybe 1.5 millimeters, and of course the tip's corroded away as well. And if I'll show you this here now, you can see how badly pitted the blade is. So I'm gonna take this back to fresh metal all the way along, give it another tip, but I'm not gonna do much more to it. I'm going to leave a lot of the pitting, I'm going to leave a lot of the character to it. I'm going to take as little meat off as possible, but still get it to the point where it's presentable and it looks decent. Once I've done the blade, I will then go to the handle. Now, it's a convex grind. I'm going to hand finish it. Same with the clip. So there's going to be a lot of slack belt, a lot of soft platen work, and I'll get as much done on the machine as possible, but I will hand finish it, like I say. See if I can show this some respect, give it a little love. Let's go to the dirty room. So here's what we're looking at. A lot better than it was, as you can see. Now, the original finish on these would have been a belt finish here, and also on the handle. Whether the pommel was polished or not, I don't know. I doubt it, because there did seem to be like that final element of hand finishing was lacking, and which of course you can't judge it for, because you know these were being supplied to the armed forces. You know, they're not going to piss about with hand rubbing a blade that's going to see some serious use anyway, and the quality of the construction, you know, it's a moot point, doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do is I am going to hand rub the blade. I'm going to give it that extra little finishing touch. I think I'm going to polish the pommel, or just give it a buff, and then if I don't like it, I'm torn between, you know, the authentic look of a hand rubbed kind of machine finish, which is what this would have had, and polishing it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buff it. If I don't like it, then I'm going to take it back 600, probably, you know, 600, 400, something like that, and see how we get on. So the knife is where we want it now. So, sheath. Now, the sheaths, like the period specific sheaths, if you like, that these came with, very different to what I do these days. All the sheaths that I've seen from the Fagan knives, the two sides of the sheath have been connected with some kind of metal fixing, either, from what I can tell, steel loops, kind of like staples, but more ring-like, or riveted, brass rivets. Some were stitched, some were not, but they all had that in common. They all had the metal fixings. I don't have anything like that here. I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to stitch it. And from what I can tell, none of them had welts, which might account for the metal fixings, or the metal fixings were there because they didn't have welts, or they didn't need welts because they didn't have because they used the metal fixings. Impossible to tell, but it's one reason or the other. Normally I use 4mm leather for my sheaths, and usually a 4mm welt as well. I'm going to put a welt on this because, like I say, it will just be stitched. But I've got 3mm leather here, which is a lot closer to what the original sheath looked like. In fact, it was actually even thinner than that. And I've got some 2mm for the welt here. When I got this from my father-in-law, the sheath was actually with it, but it was so badly rotted and perished, it was no good. But I can still, you know, I've still got a good idea. I can still remember what it looked like, and I'm going to copy that as close as I can. So let's crack on, shall we?